Tonight, several breaking stories as we come on the air. Growing concern of an all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah. Tonight, hundreds of deadly airstrikes on Lebanon. The U.S. now sending additional troops to the region, given the rising tensions. Also tonight, the U.S. bracing. The tropical system set to become a hurricane headed right toward Florida. First tonight, Israel launching hundreds of deadly airstrikes into eastern and southern Lebanon. More than 1,300 targets, nearly 500 people killed. The Israeli military accusing Hezbollah of hiding weapons and missiles in civilian homes. Hezbollah responding with counterattacks on Israel. What could be coming next? Martha Raddatz and Ian Pannell, both live from the region tonight. Here in the U.S., the new tropical threat gaining strength, set to become a hurricane before it hits the U.S. Florida now getting ready for potential landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. Ginger Zee standing by with the newest track. Tonight, prosecutors revealing chilling new evidence they say ties suspect Ryan Ruth to the second attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. A handwritten letter he allegedly wrote and dropped off at a friend's house months before. What that letter reveals. Tonight, the race for the White House, the new national poll, Kamala Harris extending her lead nationally. But the story tonight in the key battlegrounds that will decide this election. What a new poll shows in two key states tonight, Donald Trump with the edge in Arizona and North Carolina. And tonight, Vice President Harris says she has accepted a second debate with Donald Trump on CNN. What Donald Trump is now saying about that. The urgent manhunt underway for suspects after a deadly mass shooting. 4 people killed, more than a dozen wounded. Tonight, our Robin Roberts with Ukraine's President Zelensky and the First Lady of Ukraine. He says he has a victory plan now and when he will present it. The remarkable discovery tonight, the 6-year-old boy kidnapped while playing with his brother. 70 years later, where he was found alive. The images tonight, the bulls on the run in Massachusetts. Look at this, 8 bulls escaping the rodeo, racing through the streets, the mad dash to try to lasso them all. Also tonight, New York now reporting a death of a patient from the mosquito virus Triple E. And Bob Woodruff is here tonight, the effort to save some of the world's wonders. What's happened to the land?
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight with 2 developing stories as we come on the air. This tropical threat set to become a hurricane taking aim at the U.S. In fact, Florida already bracing tonight. Ginger Zee standing by with the new track and timing here. But we begin tonight with rising tensions in the Middle East. Will there be an all-out war after the dangerous escalation between Israel and Hezbollah already? The moment, one of hundreds of airstrikes slamming into a neighborhood in southern Lebanon. Israel saying they struck 1,300 Hezbollah targets. Officials say nearly 500 are dead tonight. Residents watching as their neighborhoods burn. Israel accusing Hezbollah of storing weapons and missiles in civilian homes. People heeding Israel's warning tonight to move north. You can see the traffic jams there. A dash cam capturing a rocket landing in front of this vehicle right here. There's no word tonight on the driver's fate. Hezbollah, in response, firing more than 250 rockets into northern Israel. Israeli defenses intercepting those rockets. Tonight, the Pentagon now sending additional U.S. troops to the region out of an abundance of caution. ABC's Martha Raddatz in Israel leading us off tonight.
Tonight, the Pentagon sending additional military forces to the Middle East out of an abundance of caution to protect Americans at risk, fearing the exchange of missiles between Israel and Hezbollah may descend into all-out war. With Lebanon reeling after the deadliest Israeli airstrikes in that country in nearly 20 years. Israeli fighter jets roaring across a wide swath of Lebanon, aiming at an astonishing 1,300 targets in what they called a proactive offensive operation against Hezbollah, leaving nearly 500 dead and well more than 1,600 injured, according to Lebanese officials. Apocalyptic scenes on the ground.
Oh my God.
Residents watching in horror, filming as their neighborhoods burn. Hours earlier, Israeli officials sending text messages and radio announcements urging civilians in villages occupied by Hezbollah to leave immediately for their safety. But there was little time before the missiles began to fall. This dashcam video capturing the moment one explodes. Traffic snarling along the main highways, families loading into trucks, hoping to find safety in the capital, Beirut. The Israeli Defense Forces accusing Hezbollah of storing munitions in civilian homes, claiming these videos show what appears to be a cruise missile hidden inside these collapsible walls. Already, Hezbollah launching counterattacks, more than 250 rockets, some hitting near Haifa, the country's third largest city. The Israeli cabinet declaring a special situation nationwide.
Let's bring in Martha Raddatz again live in the region for us tonight. Martha, how concerned is the U.S. about this conflict escalating into an all-out war here?
Well, David, we already have 40,000 U.S. troops in the region, including a carrier strike group at sea. But there is concern tonight this conflict could spiral out of control, leaving tens of thousands of Americans needing evacuation. And these additional troops could help with that. David?
Martha Raddatz leading us off here. Martha, thank you. One more question on this. I want to get right to our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell. He's live in Beirut tonight. And Ian, you and I were both on the ground covering Israel's war with Hezbollah nearly 2 decades ago now. What's the real concern tonight after what we've witnessed already here?
I think the civilian casualty rate is likely to climb, not least because, like Hamas, Hezbollah comes from these local populations. That is where they store and fire weapons from, and then that brings retaliation. And Hezbollah has a lot more firepower, fighters, and external support than Hamas. That means they can damage Israel much greater. I mean, according to the organization, they're capable of hitting almost anywhere in Israel, and we haven't seen even the least of their firepower yet. Israel's invasions and wars in the past ultimately didn't make the country safe or diminish Hezbollah. So what can Israel really do differently this time? David?
Ian Pannell and Martha Raddatz both in the region for us. Ian, thank you. Meantime, back here in the U.S. tonight, the new tropical threat gaining strength, set to become a hurricane before it hits the U.S. The state of emergency in Florida at this hour already, getting ready for potential landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee with the timing and the track of this. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, David. Right now, that low pressure system, which will become Helene, will pass close to Cancun on the west side of Cuba, right through that waterway there. So we've got hurricane watches up. And look at Key West now with the tropical storm watch. Anticipate tomorrow much of Florida to start seeing these warnings and watches because we anticipate this storm to become a hurricane and then strengthen as it heads toward that Big Bend Panhandle area. Remember, this is a cone, and so you can see the center move anywhere from, I'd say, Panama City to Crystal River. But either way, that right side, the dirty side, could have impacts all the way down to southwest Florida. We're talking Naples takes on a lot of water even when these storms go up that far north. 2 to 4 degree water temperatures above average. Plenty of fuel. We've got that upper level low that's going to bring it up with some really heavy rains for Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama too. David.
Tracking this for the next several days with you, Ginger. Thank you. Tonight to that assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Prosecutors now revealing chilling new evidence that they say ties suspect Ryan Ruth to that second attempt. They say they've discovered a handwritten letter he allegedly wrote and then dropped off at a friend's house months before. What that letter reveals. Victor Kento in Florida tonight.
You want to go with Keep walking!
Tonight, chilling new evidence tying Ryan Ruth, seen here during this dramatic arrest, to the second attempted assassination of former President Trump in Florida. Authorities say Ruth dropped off a box at a friend's house several months ago containing a handwritten letter, Ruth writing, "Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you," and offering a cash reward for anyone who succeeded. Investigators say that friend didn't open the box until after Ruth's arrest. Ruth appearing in federal court today. Prosecutors saying the evidence clearly demonstrates a month-long plan to assassinate the former president. Investigators say cell phone data shows the 58-year-old suspect was near Mar-a-Lago and staked out the grounds of Trump's West Palm Beach golf course for weeks. Ruth hid outside the fence of the 6th hole in what authorities today described as a sniper's nest out of a war zone. He was 1 hole ahead of Trump and estimated 100 feet away from the green Trump was headed to, what prosecutors say would be an easy shot. A Secret Service agent spotting the barrel of an assault-style rifle sticking out of the fence, opening fire. Authorities say Ruth then fled. Authorities also say Ruth searched for directions from West Palm Beach to Mexico. He will remain in custody, scheduled to be arraigned next week, and prosecutors say they will try to charge him with attempted assassination. David?
Victor Akendo with us tonight. Victor, thank you. We turned out at the race for the White House 43 days to the election. The new national poll tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris extending her lead nationally. But the story tonight in the key battlegrounds that will decide this election, what a new poll also shows in 2 key states tonight, Former President Donald Trump with the edge in Arizona and North Carolina. Kamala Harris says she has accepted a debate from CNN. Trump says it's too late. Rachel Scott in Pennsylvania tonight.
Tonight, former President Donald Trump meeting with farmers in all-important Pennsylvania, pushing his plans for massive tariffs on foreign imports and brushing off concerns from many economists that it will cause prices for consumers to rise across the board. Trump vowing to push his tariffs through with or without Congress.
I don't need them. I don't need Congress, but they'll approve it. I have the right to impose them myself if they don't. I'd rather get their support. The ones that understand business all support it.
Vice President Kamala Harris claims Trump's tariffs would cost middle-class families $4,000 a year, calling him out at the ABC News debate.
My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
Trump now refusing to debate a second time, turning down CNN's invitation that Harris has accepted to go one-on-one on October 23rd, saying it wouldn't be right since early voting has already started.
This would really be late into the election, so I think it would be a very bad thing. I think it would actually be a bad thing for the country.
But Trump had previously agreed to debate President Biden on September 25th, even though early voting would already be underway. In both 2016 and in 2020, he took part in debates in late October. Harris says her opponent seems to be looking for an excuse.
Join me on the debate stage. Let's have another debate. There's more to talk about.
National polls show Harris gaining ground. A new NBC poll has her leading Trump by 5 points among registered voters, 49 to 44%.
Let's not pay too much attention to the polls, because let's be clear, we are the underdog in this race, and we have some hard work ahead of us.
And David, to that point, polls show that this race is tighter than ever, especially in those critical battleground states that could ultimately decide this election. A New York Times Siena poll shows that Donald Trump is ahead by 5 points in Arizona at 50%, Harris at 45%. And in North Carolina, it is a dead heat. Trump 49%. Harris 47, well within the polls' margin of error, David.
Rachel Scott with us live tonight as well. Rachel, thank you. Next tonight, one of the issues in this presidential race, violent crime in the U.S. Tonight, the FBI reporting a dramatic drop in violent crime. The latest numbers from 2023 showing murders down more than 11%. The FBI says it's the biggest decline in decades. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the FBI recording dramatic declines in violent crime, especially murders, which saw the biggest drop in decades. Murders down in 2023, a stunning 11%.
We have data back to 1960s. We've now seen the largest decrease in murder ever recorded.
The new numbers, which are actual crimes reported to police and which cover 94% of the American population and all major U.S. cities, come as crime has been hotly debated on the campaign trail.
You can't walk across the street to get a loaf of bread. You get shot, you get mugged, you get raped, you get whatever it may be.
But the new FBI numbers show, in addition to a dramatic drop in homicides, which are overwhelmingly committed with guns, there's also been a decrease in rape, down 9.4%, and aggravated assault down nearly 3%. Decreases also seen in property crime, burglary, and larceny. The only significant category which jumped in 2023 was car theft, which increased by nearly 13%. But like other crime categories, is trending down this year as well.
The Harris campaign is embracing the new numbers, saying that they confirm that the administration's efforts are working. But the fact remains the U.S. is far more violent than other major powers, and crime remains a significant issue for many voters, David.
Pierre Thomas, live in Washington. Pierre, thank you. Next tonight here, a $100,000 reward now offered for the gunman behind a mass shooting in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 and wounding 17 over the weekend. The gunfire erupting late Saturday night outside a lounge just minutes from the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Video showing multiple victims on the ground. Tonight, the 4 people killed now identified. Police say this was a targeted, isolated attack. The suspects possibly paid to kill one of the victims. Around 100 shell casings were collected at the scene. Now to Robin Roberts' exclusive interview tonight with Ukrainian President Zelensky and Ukraine's First Lady. They're here in the U.S. for the UN General Assembly meeting, looking for U.S. support for what Zelensky is calling a victory plan. Zelensky also visiting a munitions factory in Scranton, Pennsylvania, thanking the workers there, saying Ukraine still needs help. Robin asking him about that victory plan.
So your victory plan Does it include, and I know you don't want to get into details until you talk to leaders, but negotiating with Russia, and how can you trust someone?
It's not about negotiating with Russia. No, it's about, like I said, it's a bridge to diplomatic way how to stop the war. The bridge is a plan of victory or victorious plan. It's a strengthening of Ukrainian army and Ukrainian people. Only in the strong position we can push Putin to stop the war, diplomatic way.
Zelensky did not say whether giving up land would be part of Ukraine's victory plan, making it clear he wants to present it to President Biden first. Robin will have much more of our interview with President Zelensky first thing in the morning on Good Morning America. The other news tonight, the gunman who killed 10 people at a Colorado supermarket in 2021 has been convicted of murder tonight. Ahmad Alissa, who has schizophrenia, pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. His defense lawyers arguing he couldn't tell right from wrong at the time of the attack. First-degree murder carries a mandatory life sentence in Colorado. When we come back here tonight, New York now reporting the death of a patient from the mosquito virus Triple E, the warning from health officials tonight, and then the remarkable discovery, the 6-year-old boy kidnapped while playing with his brother 70 years later, where he's been found alive. In a moment here. Tonight, New York State reporting a deadly case of eastern equine encephalitis. The patient from Ulster County was the state's first human case of Triple E since 2015. ABC News now tracking at least 11 known cases nationwide this year. The disease is spread to humans by infected mosquitoes. State health officials now urging people to use insect repellent and guard against mosquito bites. A kidnapping mystery solved after more than 7 decades tonight. 6-year-old Luis Albino playing with his brother in West Oakland when a woman lured him away from a park. That was in 1951. He was raised by another family, his niece using results of an ancestry test to help police find him living on the East Coast. He's a retired firefighter and veteran, now reuniting with his family. When we come back, the images tonight, the bulls on the run in Massachusetts escaping a rodeo. This is really something, how they had to try to catch them. And Bob Woodruff is here tonight, the effort to protect some of the world's wonders and what he discovered, what they've done to the land. To the Index, and quite an image tonight, bulls escaping a rodeo in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. 8 bulls making a run for it, escaping, and then look at this, barreling through a fence right into this neighborhood. 7 of the bulls were caught, including 6 found behind the fence of a home. 1 bull, they told us at last check, does remain on the loose tonight. When we come back here, Bob Woodruff here tonight with his special, The Race to Save Some of the Wonders of the World, and what he found. Finally tonight here, the race to save some of the wonders of the world. Bob Woodruff and the nonprofit Global Conservation on a journey across 5 countries. Tonight here, what Bob found in Ecuador.
We traveled to the south, deep into the Amazon, in Ecuador.
You don't have to spend much time here when you realize how big mining is in this country.
It's been decades since gold could be found on the surface, so they now have to dive deeper into the mountains.
Aquí?
They take us into the mine, 600 meters deep. A controlled detonation, hundreds of meters away.
We just heard these dynamite blasts down here. I don't think I've ever been in a tunnel like this where it has, because to me it seemed like it was fairly close. But he said it's not dangerous, so.
We have to go.
What's the gas?
The miners inform us of a sudden gas emission from the explosion.
What is the gas? What is it?
It starts to fill the mine. In the throes of chaos, one last search for gold.
Oh my God.
Instead of gold,
La piedra que
quartz.
tiene cuarzo.
These images from above show you how extensive these mines are, how large and destructive they have become. Forests leveled, lush green turning into churned brown wasteland. For the indigenous groups here, like the Aikofan, there is no complexity to the fight for their land. Illegal or not, the mining is causing immediate harm.
Hay que seguir cuidando nuestro territorio.
There's no clean water left for us, she said. It's up to us to keep watch over our land. If we don't, who will?
Our thanks to Bob Woodruff tonight. Last Lands premieres tonight on ABC News Live and then streams on Hulu and Disney+. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.